I have just sprayed with non-stick spray, you know, this stuff. I have one box of just the boxed cornbread mix. It's like 30 cents. It's a very, very economical meal, 30, 40 cents, not much at all. That has everything you need in it to bake, to make cornbread out of. This is some cumin, some chili powder, and some oregano. Now, a lot of people think, you know, oregano is exclusively used in Italian food. But you know what? Mexican oregano is delicious, and it's used a whole lot in Mexican food. So we're just going to kind of spice that chili mix or that cornbread mixture up just a little bit. Feel free to add more cumin or more chili powder depending on your family's likes or dislike. You could also add some garlic powder and onion powder to that too if you wanted to. I'm going to add 1 can of creamed corn, goodness, just 1 regular can of creamed corn. We're going to add some milk. This is about half a cup of milk, and I'm going to just crack my eggs into the milk and then beat the eggs in the milk. I like to do that because that gets it fully incorporated. I just think that spreads it out a little better. So I'm going to just mix those together. I'm going to use a whisk. Just a little better. Does a little better job. This also would be a great dish to make as a freezer meal. If anybody out there, if you're interested in me showing you some freezer meals, just let me know. That's something that if you are interested in, I would love to do. Stir that together. Let me switch to my bigger spatula here. I find it very easy to have those kind of like a meal kit in the freezer. I was actually looking through my foods here on the set, and I have a meal kit in the freezer that I did for a slow cooker. It's great because then all you got to do is thaw it overnight. The morning before you leave, just toss it in your crock pot or slow cooker. I'm going to add about a cup of the Mexican blend of cheese, or a lot of the stores will carry a taco flavored cheese, or you could just use cheddar, Monterey Jack. You know, your favorite cheese would work fine in here. All right. Now, I'm going to pour this into the bottom of my casserole dish. Now, I'm a lefty here, so I've got to do it backwards for you. I'm left-handed, and it sometimes makes things awkward because the world, and those of you that are left-handed will know what I'm saying here. The world was designed for right-handed people. It really was. I can remember when I was in school, like elementary school and middle school, the desks were a nightmare. Again, those of you that are left-handed can identify. We're going to pop this into the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes until that sets up. So let's put this in that oven for about 20 minutes or so. Let the cornbread base, the tamale base, just, you know, set up and get ready to go. Now, let me get rid of my dishes. We're going to make a dish that, boy, this is so complicated. You better pay attention here because this one's hard. I'm just teasing. I don't really do any hard dishes. This is 1 bag of tater tots, just frozen tater tots. These are the regular size. You could use the minis, whatever you wanted to do. And I have 1 package of taco seasoning. And I'm going to coat these tater tots with just a little bit of, this is just vegetable oil. This is really a meal that truly could be a pantry staple meal. You know, sometimes you just got to look at what you've got and come up with meals based on the ingredients that you have on hand. And that's kind of what this is. I mean, most of us will have frozen tater tots, or you could even use like the frozen French fries. If you don't have these frozen, and you've got potatoes, you could totally just wedge up your potatoes or slice them however you want them. And then I think I'm going to add just a touch more oil. Coat them with the taco seasoning and pop them in the oven. But this is for convenience sake. We're just going to use frozen tater tots. Convenient. Convenient to have in your pantry. Oops. Come on, you. All right. We're just going to make sure that they all get coated with that seasoning. I have my oven. Now, I have double ovens here. If you don't have a double oven at home, most of us don't, feel free to bake these alongside that. But if you have two ovens or you're doing them separately, 450 degrees. But again, if you only have one oven and you've already got it at 400, just pop it in there at that. And that's all there is to that. We're going to pop those in the 450 degree oven, again, for about 20 or 25 minutes until they're cooked through and they're golden and delicious. That is one of those recipes right there. If you have an air fryer at home, and you know, at first, when I first got an air fryer, I thought to myself, I don't know about this thing. I have come to love my air fryer. The boys, both, they're here behind the cameras. They love it because they can just, you know, cook themselves something quick and easy. We get these frozen mesquite chicken breasts, and they pop those in the air fryer, and there you go. You've got dinner done. I mean, those things, and I'm working on some more recipes for you for the Instant Pot and the air fryer. But I have genuinely come to love my air fryer, and I was surprised by that. So if you've got any favorite recipes that you like to do in your air fryer, go on to the Facebook page, Life Every Day with Lisa, Everydaymana, and, you know, leave me a comment what you like to cook in your air fryer. Let's just, you know, we got to share these ideas one with the other, because that's a relatively new appliance on the market. I mean, you know, it is really truly just a small convection oven, but it's so handy and so convenient. So I'm going to take a quick break, wash my hands, clean up. When I come back, we are going to get the rest of the chicken casserole ready to go. On top of that, then we're going to make a chocolate no-bake cookie. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now I have brought a pot of water to a boil, and I'm going to actually put some, just some elbow macaroni in there. I'm going to salt it first, liberally. That's really important when you're cooking any kind of pasta. I'm going to put the macaroni in there, the elbow macaroni, and it's going to cook for 7 or 8 minutes until it's done. We're going to make a quick, easy side dish to go alongside our casserole. It's going to be a macaroni and tomato casserole, or not casserole, but a macaroni and tomato dish. We'll get into that in just a minute, but I'm cooking the macaroni. Now, this is the base of our casserole. Remember, we put the cornbread mixture in the oven. I'm going to take a knife, and I'm just going to poke some holes in there. And you'll see why in just a second. Okay. I have 1 can of just enchilada sauce, and I'm going to pour that over top of the cornbread, and I poked the holes so that the sauce will go down in the, I'm going to save it, well, no, I'll just go ahead and put all that on there. Go down in the cornbread and make like a, flavor it through. Get all that out of your container. Then I'm going to take the chicken from, this is very hot, so be careful when you take that out of the oven. I have here some chicken from just a rotisserie chicken, but you could use leftover chicken. You could do what I did and buy a rotisserie chicken, or you could use just some of your leftover chicken that you've cooked or poached some chicken, whatever chicken you've got left over. You could also do this with ground beef that you have browned and drained. It's very versatile. Okay, we want a couple of cups of chicken. All right, let me get that out of there. We've got light and dark meat. I love rotisserie chickens. You've heard me talk about them many times. They really are a good value in the stores. You couldn't buy a chicken and cook it at home as inexpensively as you can get a rotisserie chicken, especially at places like Sam's and Costco. Their rotisserie chickens are delicious. They're big. And oftentimes I will just grab one of those, bring it home for dinner, and make, mashed potatoes or green beans or whatever side dishes I want. It makes a great dinner. And there's usually always some chicken left. And we just cut it, go ahead and cut it off the bone and put it in the refrigerator, and there you go. And you've got some leftovers. Great leftover dish this one is for leftover chicken or fresh chicken, whatever you've got on hand. You want a couple, 2 to 3 cups of chicken. I'll put this on there, and then I'll just leave that for snacking. You could also make some chicken salad out of it. There's just so much. Chicken is so versatile. You can do so many different things with it. All right, so there's my chicken. And then I'm going to top that with some more of that flavored cheese mixture. And this is going to go back in the oven for probably another 15 minutes or so. You could, if you wanted to, top that with some more of your enchilada sauce. Get another can. If you wanted to, you could do that. Up to you. I'm going to pop this back in the oven for another 15 minutes or so. Okay. Let's check our tater tots. I think they're done. I think we can cut that one off. There we go. Now, let me set this to the side. Let's talk about no-bake cookies. This is a very popular recipe that is made many, many different ways. Some people call them preacher cookies. Some people call them no-bakes. It's one of my husband's favorites. But it uses ingredients that most people will have in their pantry. I'm going to, in this pot, I have some, let me use this one. I have some sugar. I'm going to add some milk, some cocoa powder, and some butter. Let me cut that butter up just a little bit. Make it a little easier. Maybe not cut it up, but, make it smaller pieces. Melts a little more evenly that way. And I'm going to melt all that together using a whisk. If I can find a whisk, here's one. That'll melt. It'll all come together. Now in this bowl, we have some oats, just the old-fashioned quick cooking, not the 1 minute, but the old-fashioned, the ones that take, 2 or 3 minutes. Then we've got some chopped walnuts. If you want to use pecans or almonds, you can. And then I have just some coconut flakes. I'm going to stir all that together. Just use your hands. Clean hands are the cook's best tools, I think. In most applications, it just works better. Let me cut that up just a dot, because we're going to get that all stirring together. We're going to melt that butter into the cocoa. It's going to be delicious. These are no-bakes. This is one of those things that would be great to let your kids help you with. I hear from a lot of people that say, they have enjoyed the fact that, when my kids were smaller, they're behind the cameras now, but then they were on camera, and people love to see the children in the kitchen. And, when you teach them at a young age to cook and how to handle the knives properly under supervision and all of that, they grow up able to feed themselves. Now, my boys right now are able to feed themselves. If I'm not up to cooking or I'm not home or whatever, they are perfectly capable of cooking themselves a meal in the kitchen. Mike and I had to be away for a broadcasting event, I don't know, a couple years ago, I guess it was. First time I'd ever left my boys at home alone. And, I worried myself silly, but they cooked, and Aaron made lamb chops with roasted potatoes, and Austin told me he said, "Don't want to hurt your feelings, Mom." That's better than yours. And I was like, that don't hurt my feelings. It makes me proud. It makes me happy. So get your kids in the kitchen. Let them help you cook. Yes, they might make a mess, but you know what? The mess cleans up. The memories will be there forever. So let them help you. Let them sneak the chocolate. Let them eat what they're cooking. Now, switch to my whisk, and I'm just going to whisk in that butter until it melts, and I'm going to let that cook for about 4 minutes. This is not the time to walk away from your kitchen. You need to supervise this or it will burn. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'm just going to stir this. When I come back, this will be done. The macaroni will be done, and we will put this meal together. I'll be back in just a minute. All righty, now we have just melted that, is all we did. We're going to pour this mixture over that mixture. Very simple. Okay. Get all that chocolate out of there. Woo, man, that smells good. All right. This over here, sink full of dishes. And then you want to stir this together. You want to do this while that chocolate's hot. This is so simple. It really is. And these are great little cookies to take to an event or just to have, in your pantry as a little snack once in a while. They're good. And you could add anything you wanted to that. If you wanted to add some dried fruit, maybe some cranberry, like the dried craisins, or dried blueberries, or whatever you want, you could mix it up. Maybe put some M&Ms in there, some chocolate chips. Got chocolate all over my hands, which is not a bad thing. Mix that together very well. And then Well, let's see here. Let me get rid of this. You need 2 spoons, or you could use a cookie scoop. Whatever you have is fine. Now, I just have a sheet pan here that I've lined with just some parchment paper. And you want to think about how big you want these to be. Now, you can make them the big cookies. You could make them smaller cookies. I don't want them to be too big, but I don't want them to be tiny either. And you just want to, you're not going to bake them, so you don't have to worry about them, spreading or anything like that. You're really just going to chill these until they set up. These are one of my husband's favorite cookie, if not his favorite cookie. He loves them. You could cut down on the sugar if you wanted to by using unsweetened coconut. And you could leave out the oats and increase the coconut, maybe increase the nuts, and make these, a little more carb-friendly, keto, low-carb, however you want to call it. I've made them that way before, and he loves them because we both eat low-carb most of the time. So I do try to come up with some snacks and things. So this just, it's just a matter of spooning it out. If you want to use an ice cream scoop, you can. You make them as big or as small as you want to. And then you're going to pop them in the refrigerator or the freezer for like 10 or 15 minutes until they firm up and set up. And you've got yourself a delicious no-bake cookie. Some people call them preacher cookies. I'm not sure how that term came to be, other than maybe, used to, the preacher would come by your house or something, and you would want to have a little something to give them. And these are pantry staples. I mean, most people have these ingredients already in their pantries. So, it's a good thing just to whip together. It takes minutes. And then we're going to put those in the refrigerator and let them set up. All righty, now our macaroni is cooked and I just drained it is all I did. I'm going to add just a pinch of salt, a little bit of pepper. Now I'm going to add a can of undrained green chilies. I love these little things. They just add a little bit of heat. You don't have to put those in there, but it's really good. And then I'm going to add some chili powder. I don't know, about that much. Maybe a little more. About that much. That's probably a teaspoon or so. Maybe a teaspoon and a half. And then I have 1 can of crushed tomatoes here. Now, if you're lucky enough to have home canned tomatoes, let me just tell you, this is fabulous with home canned tomatoes. Macaroni and tomatoes is a dish that my mama made all the time. Now, she did not put the chili powder and the green chilies in there, but she would add her home canned tomatoes and a little tiny bit of sugar to cut the acidity of the tomatoes. So this is a dish that has very, very fond memories for me. And I sometimes just get a hankering for macaroni and tomatoes. And I will just boil macaroni, and I do have home canned tomatoes. I can them every year. And just put like a pint of my home canned tomatoes, a little salt, a little pepper. I don't put sugar in mine. Oh, so good. I could eat this whole bowl myself. There are just some things that, my mama made that are just priceless to me. While that's heating through with the tomatoes are heating through because the macaroni's already cooked. Here are our finished tater tots. So good. I snuck one. They're delicious. And here is our finished casserole. The cheese has melted. It's kind of just sunk down into that cornbread. It is so good, but it's also so very hot. That needs to sit for, you know, a few minutes to let that set up. I like to serve it with a little squeeze of lime. This is totally optional, but for me, I just think a little squeeze of citrus over any of this actually just really makes it taste so good. So what I'm going to do is just always roll your citrus, whether it's a lime or a lemon, and I'm going to cut it into wedges. This is a hard lime, but oh, I love the flavor of lime. And if you've never had lime squeezed in your water, that's delicious too. So I would serve these limes alongside the dish, and then everybody can do, you know, what they want to. Well, let's just put them there for the moment. Our no-bakes are in the freezer setting up. Now, I've just stuck them in the freezer for time's sake. You would just want to let those chill until they set up. And I would say this is done. You want to taste that for seasoning. Taste it for salt and pepper. Perfect. So very good. And there you go. We have our chicken tamale casserole, our cookies that are setting up, our taco tots, and a macaroni and tomato with green chilies. Thank you for joining with me. Try these recipes. Let me know what you think. Let me know your favorite pantry type meal. These are things that, you know, on any given day, I will have this in my dry good pantry or my refrigerator or freezer, and you can come up with a quick, easy, delicious